Okay, here we are today to talk about quickly in the next couple of minutes the 6 main reasons why people actually move home. Contrary to popular belief, people do not move home to make money because effectively you're just trading like for like. If your house is up in value by 30%, the house that you're buying in the same area is more than likely up in value by 30% as well. If your house goes down in value by 10%, the house you're going to buy is going to be down in 10% as well. It's simple economics. So the house you stay in is an asset which keeps you on the ladder in order to upgrade or downgrade to properties in that similar area at a similar price point. So it stabilizes your house price purchase for you. That's the effectiveness of home ownership. So the 6 main reasons why people will actually move home then is, well, sometimes they're settling down, sometimes they're moving up, sometimes they're staying, sometimes they're going. But if all these questions are sounding familiar to you about why you're possibly thinking about moving home, well, you're actually not alone. And that's because according to statistical website Statistica.com, more than 365,000 people in the UK are effectively thinking about moving home at this point in time, probably more so now that the New Year's and Christmas and New Year is actually over. But what makes people want to seek? What makes people want to seek new pastures and buy new homes? But so here are actually the 6 reasons. The most common reasons, actually, why people buy and sell properties. The first one for me is more space. I mean, it seems so common in common sense, but problem with common sense, it's not that common. Growing families really need more room, and they can't afford to wait. So the crucial driver of the housing market is the upwardly mobile upsizers. They're the lifeblood of the market itself when you look at it, because you need these people, even at the first-time buyer territory, to buy the first-time buyer home. So the first-time buyer person that was in that home before can upgrade to the middle market, and the upgrade to the middle market can go to the top end of the market in terms of size. And then the top end of the market now has no use for a huge house anymore, so they go back down to the smaller size property. So it's basically more space is probably the most important reason that people will move. Less space as well is another one we just talked about. You know, the older people downsizing from a home that is now far too big for their needs is a fast-growing sector in today's market. It's very often I'll go around to seeing people in a bigger house at an older age group, and actually the first thing they say is, I can't manage the stairs anymore, or I don't want to get to the point where I can't manage the stairs and I'm left to sell against my wishes when the market is maybe not as good as it was, especially in the downsizing. Because if you're in an upsize house, if you're in a lot bigger house, at this point in time, when the house prices are so large, when you go down to a smaller house, you're actually capitalizing on a big gain, and because you're selling at a higher price point. And if there's a 10% reduction in your price, say you're at 300,000, for example, there's a 30% loss, a 10% reduction for next year. What they're talking about this year, at the end of this year. If there's a 10% reduction in the price that you're going to, which is maybe 150,000, there's only a 15,000 reduction. So if you sell right now at the top end of the market, you've got that £30,000 gain. You're maybe paying 15,000 extra than it would have reduced with a 10% reduction, but you're still 15,000 up overall with a bigger property. So the people in bigger properties looking to sell are the ones that should be doing it now, if the market is actually predicted to go down between 5 and 10% this year. This has actually been fueled by the cost of living crisis and how much it also costs to heat and maintain the larger homes, and as well as things like council tax. So the next one for me is probably less noise. Nuisance neighbours, or to a mild extent, disagreeable people next door, are another popular reason why actually people move home. I've had it recently where somebody says, look, I've just got to the point where we don't agree with each other. I really just want to move. And that's why some people will actually move home. Being in a tenancy is quite an easy one, because you can give 28 days notice and you're left, and you've not really got any huge exit costs. Whereas actually owning a house, then you've got the cost of the lawyer, you've got the estate agent, you've got the selling, you've got the process, you've got the moving, you've got everything else involved in that as well. You've got the mortgage you maybe need to pay off, or you maybe need to arrange another mortgage. So you can see how it could be advantageous actually to rent a property rather than actually buy a property in the short term. It depends on your own circumstances. The fourth one for me is more romance. Couples meet each other. Or no romance. Couples decide to split. New relationships are another common factor, as I've just said, in people moving. The flip side is separation and divorce, meaning that people need to move on. Now, this often happens at this time of year because people tend to say, let's get Christmas and New Year out for the kids. And then they decide the next steps forward is actually, okay, let's look at possibly valuing the house so we know where we are right now and possibly seeing a way forward. Now, often when we get to the stage and I'll sit down with somebody, sometimes it doesn't go ahead the sale because they see sense over a while and they realise that it's maybe just the circumstances that they're in just now and they'll get over that. And there's advice that you can give people as well when you're there in these situations. But I don't want to talk about that too much on here. The next one, the fifth one, is better opportunities. Be it a better school catchment area. It could be proximity to work opportunities. I mean, that's another popular reason why people buy and sell homes, especially if it's a new job and it's potentially a lot larger salary. And they might include, if you're at a senior management position, the moving costs. So then taxable or tax deduction wise, I remember, and from my olden days as an accountant, I think you got up to about £8,000 from your employer potentially, which was tax deductible for the employer and also tax free for the person moving. So as an incentive to actually move to a different location, to be there as a key member of that team, in terms of that management team, in terms of that director team for the company you're going to. So that is sometimes why people will move for better opportunities, and especially the catchment area as well, because it makes it a lot easier. The final one for me is family ties, moving closer to family. This comes up a lot in the older generation. They're maybe in a different location now, and possibly, I mean, you know, for me, the classic example is more people over in Edinburgh and people over in Glasgow. I've got families over there. They're actually living in Fife themselves, but they realise now that they've had young children and there's nobody there really for their grandchildren to help out. And they feel it's now necessary at the time that they need to move back to either Glasgow or Edinburgh. And that's often why they decide to sell up in the Fife area. Equally as well, people come from Glasgow and Edinburgh area to actually buy a house to be more nearer to their younger family, their children and their grandchildren in the Fife area as well. So it works both ways. And that's it really. So these are the top 6, I would say, that people actually move home. So if you've got any other reasons that somebody would actually potentially move home, then by all means put it in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. So basically, just to summarize, more space, less noise, more romance, no romance, better opportunities, or family ties. And that's it. And until next time, guys, I'm Jim Parker for Fife Properties TV.